Welcome to Women at Halftime podcast, but not just for women, for you men too. If you're at mid-career or the halftime of life, our inspirational topics are not only fun, but also meant to help you maximize and write your next chapter. Right here with me, Deborah Johnson. Well, hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Greg, for being with me today.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. And we are going to approach a subject of discouragement, of what does discouragement really mean and how to handle it. And I think we're going to approach this with just some great questions. And because discouragement is a real important part of our lives. We were talking a few weeks ago about the number of entrepreneurs Deb works with who just find themselves discouraged. And it feels like a lot of the world wants us never to entertain negative feelings, that somehow you're just supposed to push them out of your mind and pretend that everything's fine. And you kind of wanted to push back against that a little bit, right? Right. You don't want to stop asking the questions of what can I learn from this, or how can I grow? And that seems to be the place of when discouragement is almost like this big roadblock right ahead.
Yeah. So discouragement can be one of those mindsets that cause us to get stuck, right?
Exactly. It can cause you to get stuck, to feel like you're forever going around in that circle, roundabout, and can't really break out or break free.
Something that you expressed to me is that people especially as they get midlife, get frustrated with themselves, kind of asking, when am I going to stop having to learn?
Yeah.
Is that ever going to happen?
You know, it won't happen with me, but it just seems like, okay, so why do I have to learn this lesson again?
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like sometimes. I know there are people that identify with that. It's like, well, didn't I already learn this? Didn't I already go through this before? You know, it feels like Groundhog Day. Why am I going to have to go through this again? And what can I learn? So I'm hoping that some of these mindsets that we share today at least put some words and some thoughts there to help move forward.
So when people get exasperated with themselves and they want to give up on themselves, those are horrible mindsets.
Yeah.
How would you suggest they process feelings of discouragement?
Well, look for the feedback that it's giving you. Look for.
So you would think that discouragement is actually a feedback signal?
There's, something that you can actually learn from this. It's almost like when you have your arm is sore and you're wondering, well, there must be something wrong. Yeah.
So your arm's giving you feedback.
Yes, my arm is giving me feedback. I was doing a lot of computer work this last week, I was doing a lot of video editing, and I could feel my shoulder, and I feel like usually I do not struggle with carpal tunnel or anything, like I haven't, because I usually really focus as a pianist, that I've focused on real relaxation. I've learned that as a concert pianist. But I was starting to feel this tightness, and I knew I needed to make a change in the way either I was sitting, my posture, or take more breaks. It gives us feedback in how maybe what we need to change in going forward, saying, why isn't it working? Why am I discouraged? Why am I feeling this way?
So if somebody doesn't get the sale, or they spend a bunch of time trying to develop a product and then the product doesn't work, and they're dealing with negative feedback, right. How would you suggest they process that?
Well, first of all, you want to look at...
Is there a healthy way to process that?
There really is, because a healthy way is to, first of all, not just throw everything out. And not just give up. You might need to change. So there's a mindset of being willing to change and being willing to adjust adjust your thinking going forward. I mean, the product may not be right for the market. You might have thought, oh, this is great. And I've seen this so much. I've done it myself, thinking, oh, this is a great product. This is a great song. Everyone is going to buy this song. But I haven't gotten the feedback back to think, is this, you have some of that stuff you just have to throw out there. I can't quit. I just have to throw out there and see what is going to work. It might be the fact that you need to do a different marketing for that product, that it's not marketed to the right people. That might be it. Are you marketing this particular book to a certain market segment, and you need to, look at another market segment? There are a lot of things that can give you feedback and not just say, okay, I need to just throw this totally out.
So would you say that discouragement can be a signal to evaluate your execution, but not necessarily throw away your plan?
Right, exactly.
Your plan might be fine, but your execution may be something that needs to get looked at.
Yeah. And your plan might need to change too.
But you don't look at the plan first. You look at the execution first.
You look at all the pieces that are a part of it. I think that's healthy because you don't want to just throw everything out. You need to say, okay, what sort of segments can I, especially with a product? I think because we're talking about a product. I mean, you can talk about a lot of different areas with discouragement. It can be relationships. There's so many areas here that we could go, or tangents that we could go. But again, all the areas of it.
If you're discouraged though, and you hear yourself saying to yourself, I should just give up.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
It's really coming from a negative, really about I would say that's from such an inner focus of thinking that I can't make that change. I can't do anything more.
What would cause people to conclude that they can't?
Oh, you hear this word.
Is it in their plan? Is it in their execution? Is it in being told their whole lives they can't be successful?
It could be any of those. It could be that feeling that you're not good enough because you've been told that, or you're comparing yourself to others. This is huge right now with social media, and that we feel like, well, I can't compare to that. I don't have what it takes to be able to be on top of this particular market. So, why am I even trying? So there's a lot involved in that. That's why you just need to take that little step back and not be in a hurry and just think. We talk about that a lot in being able to think, because we have a society of doers where a lot of us are doers. Do we take that step back to really think?
That's right. Yeah. Now, to flip that around, some people seem incredibly resilient. Things that should discourage them, don't. They just seem to accept the new set of circumstances and readjust their execution. But where does that come from? I mean, how can we be more resilient?
Yeah. There's a little bit of that it's a personality trait. I want to accept that, because there are people like that. They come out of the womb smiling. And they just, nothing's really going to faze them. And they might have had experiences that helped them develop that resilience. We see athletes that have had to push so hard and train so hard, and they just bounce back. I mean, what about Tiger Woods, that we thought, oh, he was never supposed to play again. But he has practiced these shots, and he's done so many times, failing them so many times, that he's putting himself in situations to be able to succeed again, at least to play again. I don't know how much he's going to succeed again, but he's out there. I mean, it's pretty amazing what he's done. But the feedback that we get, the resilience, we learn to overcome that just from some of our education, from some of our experiences. jazz musicians, you go into a wrong, some wrong notes. Who was it that Brubeck said this? When you play in jazz, if you play the wrong note, just play it again. Just play, it becomes a part of the piece.
Perfect example of resilience.
That is exactly. And when you have that experience so many times, like I have had, that's exactly what you do, is just keep repeating over and over. And that then you can overcome that, because I've done enough gigs that will end up happening. So which is it's really an interesting principle there of just your training. And some people have not gone through that.
But it's a mindset you can develop, right?
It's totally a mindset you can develop.
I think Irma Bombeck said that if life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah.
And obviously she's suggesting that that's a mindset that you can choose.
Yes.
And if you choose it a number of times, you develop it, I guess.
Exactly. It's your muscle memory. I've talked about muscle memory so much. Now, just to know that every time something happens, I don't just like cheerily go, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay."
Oh, so what do you do? How do you digest disappointment? I mean, do you have can we break it down into a 2 or 3 step process?
For me, I need to take a step back and take the time, because I tend to be I move fast. So to take the time to journal, to think, get outside. And one of the things that my dad always says, "Oh, your mother is out there snipping," because she's like trimming, trees or bushes. And I find myself going outside and snipping, because I love being outside, and it's such a release. It gives me that total different.
So place. Are you thinking about other things while you're snipping? Because that may give me a clue as to why the bushes turn out the way they do.
Yeah, I snip a lot. Yeah, they're very, very well trimmed.
So while you're snipping, you're thinking, you're digesting?
I'm just digesting. I'm not trying to figure everything out all at once. I'm just being for a while.
And then after you digest, so that's step one. Then what do you do?
Well, it depends on the seriousness of it, whether I need to run it by a friend, whether I need to run it by you. Sometimes when I'm thinking, I will just say, "What do you think of this? What do you think of this?" And you're one of my sounding boards, which is really a gift. I have a spouse that's way. Not everybody does, but you could have colleagues, a mastermind, whatever. That is one way to just get that feedback. And
you write it down, right?
And I write it down. I journal quite a bit, but only short little, but I can see it. I'm very visual.
So you would digest it. And then secondly, you would express it somehow, either in a journal or talk it through with me or somebody else.
Right.
And that probably creates some sort of synergy.
Right.
That allows you to develop an action plan.
Right. Or to change an action. Yes. To develop an action. It could be a new action plan. It could be a revised action plan. I've been going through this a lot with some of my marketing and thinking, what's working? Why isn't this particular book selling on Amazon? It should be selling. And, that I can't just say, "Oh, I'm just not going to advertise there anymore." But I know my other books are selling. So there has to be something in the messaging. And so that evaluation, I've kept those notes. I've kept all of my, even my marketing, the words that I put for marketing. Sure. So I can change that around. And that comes with, well, let me think through this again. Let me write out some more. And let me see what else is out there as well. And that can happen with a product. It can happen, with books. It can happen with part of our business.
So that's a good example. Yeah. So the lack of sales of one book or product gave you feedback,
right,
which caused you to say, "Wait, I need to stop and think about this because these other things are working."
Exactly.
So you stop and think about it, and then you express it either through journaling,
right,
talking to me, talking to other people in your mastermind circle, and then you reevaluate what you've been doing,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
I did the same thing with a different kind of marketing. I've seen that I'm getting a lot of hits on it and a lot of likes, all of that, but I wasn't getting sales. So why? I actually just recently stopped. I'm not going to tell you what kind of marketing I stopped, but it gave me that sort of reevaluation, thinking, some of these people are just doing so much. They talk about all of this on this platform and they're just doing great sales. I can't just let that think, well, maybe my stuff's not good. That is not true. Find where. I've found some places where it's most effective. And I think that when we're talking about, discouragement, and it just it's keeping up with it all, though, that there's a lot that goes beyond this in planning and in taking the time with it. But discouragement is real. I mean, it's especially when you're a solopreneur, when you're an entrepreneur that's mostly by yourself, and which I am. I have a virtual assistant. I have people that I can talk to. I've got colleagues, all of that, but there's still a lot that I do myself. And so understanding that I need to have that feedback.
Yeah.
I listened to you were on a conversation this morning, and it was all about a contract and sales. And I'm thinking, your background in that area is so valuable to me. Just thinking, it's like, I can get that sort of feedback from you when I'm approaching something in sales. Definitely.
Yeah, but to be fair, in order to know how to sell, you have to miss a ton of sales.
Yeah.
Get discouraged, evaluate why you didn't get the sale, go do it again, miss the sale. It's
true.
Discouragement's maybe your most valuable tool.
It's a very valuable tool.
And the difficult thing is that life doesn't stop just because you're discouraged.
No.
I was thinking about you in a vocal performance, and you used to have a backup band or a partner or sound systems, and you start the performance assuming everything's going to go great, and a performance is a little bit like life. Yes. You're going to be out there an hour whether you enjoy it or not.
Yes. You're committed.
Right. I mean,
totally committed.
You can't get discouraged 17 minutes into the performance and go, I'm going to walk off stage.
Yeah.
So when discouragement happens in real time as life is going, what lessons did you learn about, when the sound guy, bails on you, or suddenly the monitor isn't giving you the right feedback?
I mean, what many stories.
We're not going to get into the stories. But talk about the mindset of how you adapt your plan on the fly.
I remember especially one, I am going to tell this. It was the sound guy had come, monitors were working great. I was up on a stage, and it was a great crowd out in the auditorium. The sound guy said, okay, you got everything set, and he left.
But you didn't know he left.
No, I could not. When I started, and I was working with tracks that were very specific. I was doing some medleys with my classical spice, which has classical pieces with click tracks. I mean, I have to hear. And I realized I can't let the audience know that inside I was like dying, trying to hear, smile on my face. And it was a tough, full concert to get through by myself. I did not have a band. I had tracks.
But once you digested the fear, how did you start to adapt? I mean, because you had to put together a plan.
I did.
On the fly.
It was listening so hard is what I had to do. And I had to have the look like I wasn't panicked. Okay. I had to look like I was enjoying myself. And what was interesting is afterwards, when I talked to the agent who had booked us, I told her what had happened. She said, I have no idea.
Oh,
I had
that's great.
no idea. And I still had this sinking feeling when I went to visit some of the, they had this little reception. Yes, the reception there. And I had that sinking feeling, but I thought, I can't let them know what happened. I just can't say, oh, you would never do, oh my gosh, do you know what I just did? You can't let that come out. You have to realize that this is part of performance. And I knew half of them, usually, and I have been told this, and I don't know if I totally believe it, but I have been told many times that 80% of the people will have no clue what happened.
Okay, but time out just real quick. Would you admit that there was a moment where you thought, I'm just going to walk off stage?
Oh,
just a moment.
I was so tempted to go and say, just a moment. I need to check this monitor.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. Where we're talking about discouragement. The time where you want to go, wait.
But you know what? I knew if I walked off to check the sound, I may not come back on because I did not know. I didn't know. I had even brought my own monitor to this gig. We had driven out. You've driven with me. I remember that one. But they didn't. I didn't know what their.
So that's a picture of the determination you want them to know, right?
The determination that certain things you have to get through until you have time to evaluate. Now, I don't know how I could have fixed that particular situation totally, because that was one of those concerts I did and then I left. I mean, when you do these, it's not like you can hang around for a day and figure out what happened. No, it was done. I told the agent what had happened and she was surprised. She said it was amazing, and then she couldn't believe I actually kept it together.
But I mean, I think the only thing you can really do is triple check the next time, just in case once you know that the sound guy might leave.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing you do is triple check.
That is true.
And those things will happen to people's businesses.
It will. And to tell him, please do not turn this off, even though we have an hour break. Do not, because it might reset, things like that, or to show me exactly so I could do another sound check right before I go on. I was just assuming that it was going to be okay. And sometimes I did learn you can't always just assume either. You got to go through the steps. And so that was feedback for me.
So to wrap this up, it sounds like when discouragement really hits, that at some level, are your core values really tested?
Oh, they are. Well, one of my core values, of course, is a strong. I'm tenacious, okay, and stick to it. I'm just not a quitter, and that's part of who I am in my core. And I'm not going to leave people. I would never leave people lurched and not having a concert. I have done concerts, I've done gigs where I just didn't tell people I was not feeling well. I just, I had the hot water and just kept it going, and I don't bail on things. And that's, the core values are extremely important. And I talk about this in Stop Circling. I put a whole extra chapter in that book and the appendix about core values, because they affect our purpose. They affect our whole life and where we are at, and that strong value of not leaving. That commitment that I would have to an audience, to people, to developing trust. All of that. I mean, that comes from the value of having faith in my life, and those sort of values go through every single area. That doesn't mean I don't stop and reevaluate and change my plan. I've changed a bit of my focus and my plan. I've expanded it through the years, but I think those values are a big part of this. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Any other questions?
No, not for me. How about you?
Wow. Can I ask you? No, that's great. Well, I hope you have walked away with some of these main talking points today of creating that sort of framework that this discouragement can be a great way to get some feedback and to take a step back and evaluate, journal, get away from it a little bit, and just to be able to get some advice from trusted colleagues and maybe a small group, trusted group of people. And then don't be afraid to change, to switch, try something new. And it doesn't mean that you're not talented, doesn't mean that your product is not good. It doesn't anything like that. Now, there is a point where you should say, well, okay, I need to totally change here. That is just not going to work. I thought I was going to be this amazing yoga teacher and I was going to support myself. And after you've lived in your car for a year or two, you might say, I think I should have developed my audience for, those sort of things. So, those are, these illustrations. But I think following that with that discouragement, it's a great feedback tool. I wish I had known this a little bit earlier as well and understood it a little better. So I'm hoping this will help you. Make sure that you get on our newsletter. There will be an article with this podcast that I write, and I give you some extra resources, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. You can always get a hold of me of DeborahJohnsonSpeaker.com. I take a certain number of live events and DJ Works Music, and make sure that you get the book, Stop Circling. It's a wonderful book. Any of the others as well. This is my 6th book. And so I hope you take advantage of getting to that. And thank you again, Greg, for being with me today. It's always a lot of fun. We do this together twice a month on the Women at Halftime podcast, not just for women, also for men. And it's just a great time that we can have interacting, doing the podcast very similar to an interview or just bouncing back and forth. And it's a lot of fun. So I appreciate you being with me.
Sure.
Thanks again. And we'll look forward to being with you again next time. So bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.